Today is day 345 of the podcast, and I begin by reading from John 14, verses 1 to 3. Let not your heart be troubled. Believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house are many dwelling places. If it were not so, I would have told you, for I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go to prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you to myself, that where I am, there you may be also. This familiar passage is often read at memorial services, funerals, as a word of comfort. But in reality, it is designed to convey wedding imagery to the body of Christ, his church. Jesus has betrothed the church to himself as his very own bride. We are to remain in the midst of the world, preparing ourselves for this wedding, for his appearing, that appointed day when he himself will be released by the Father to come and receive the church as a bride for himself, and that we will share the marriage supper of the Lamb at that point. When my daughters were married, my husband walked them partway down the aisle and then returned to the stage and shared this imagery, this verse, and then this imagery, leaving our daughters partway down the aisle, standing there in the midst of the congregation by themselves. And then after explaining, gives permission for the groom, my son-in-law, to step down from the stage and to go bring his bride to the front as a picture of what will take place for the whole church at a certain day in the future. So we are those who are preparing for the marriage supper of the Lamb to take place. Revelation 21 verses 1 through 3 says, "And I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth passed away, and there is no longer any sea. I saw the holy city, the New Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, made ready as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, Behold, the tabernacle of God is among men, and he shall dwell among them, and they shall be his people, and God himself shall be among them." This wonderful imagery shows us how important it is for us to not only have a personal identity as the bride of Christ, but that we also operate in a corporate identity with him as the bride and the bridegroom. Once more, a picture of what God had in mind to begin with. Today's question for you is, how is your walk with the Lord impacted by seeing him as your bridegroom? For men, this is going to have one answer. For women, it will have another. But for men who might struggle to see Jesus as the bridegroom, it's a similar challenge for women to see themselves as sons. So that's your question for today. And if you're considering looking at following along, taking this as a course, maybe again next year, or sharing it with your friends, it's now in book form, and you can find out more about it at twoworldsmedia.org.